Simon, talk to us through your background. Where did you grow up? Kind of how did you end up in the entrepreneurial route? And kind of what's your story?
Yeah, it's kind of a interesting story. It kind of started when I was in college. I was a sophomore at University of Washington. My parents had a small ice cream store, and it was a small business, but it went under. And I ended up having to drop out. I couldn't pay tuition anymore, so I started working at a bank as a teller full time to just try to pay for rent and tuition and try to save enough so I can go back to school. But it paid me barely above minimum wage, so I could barely pay rent, let alone the student loan interest that started like kicking out because I wasn't going to school anymore. So I needed a second job. I wanted to, start my own business. And in Seattle, where I was, there was a lot of students always studying late at night. The university area was kind of sketch. People would get like shot and mugged all the time. So there weren't too many like late night delivery options, even though there was big demand. And so I took my mom's Korean barbecue recipe and I started making tacos from my college apartment and I started delivering them around campus. It was a struggle because I had no money. I had to ask my dad to let me borrow $100 to get that started. I couldn't afford food. I started eating like peanut butter jelly sandwiches like every meal. Eventually, like after a few months, it kicked off. So funny story on that too. There was no advertising whatsoever because I couldn't afford any kind of marketing, etc. It was all word of mouth. But I had a Facebook page set up and then, two guys randomly just ordered. It was like $6 worth of revenue. I was selling them for $3. And then, the fact that I sold $6 made me extremely happy. And so, I delivered it and the guy texted back and he's like, dude, this is the best tacos that I've ever had in my life. And I was like, could you, post that on Facebook for me and I'll give you a free taco next time. And for me, like a free taco was like a huge marketing expense. But when he did it, back then Facebook, like this was like 2012, Facebook wasn't doing any kind of paid advertising. So if you posted something on Facebook, it showed it to all your friends. There was no algorithm filtering, what kind of feeds you saw and stuff like that. And once I started, his friends started joining the page and started liking it. Then I got the other guy that happened to order on the same day to do the same thing. And then his friends started joining and it started going viral. And so that business started picking up and then it grew to a point where, okay, I have to do this full time or, I have to, give up on school, etc. But I thought school would be more valuable. So I decided to, quit that business a little bit. I ended up getting a full ride. I applied for like 200 grants and scholarships and stuff and got a degree in finance, which now I think is kind of worthless. Because school doesn't really teach you anything about how to run a business. I ended up getting an internship at Amazon, worked for a couple banks and stuff, which, was somewhat valuable because I did learn a lot about how corporate structures work and all this stuff. But at the end, I hated it. So I actually started a food truck. I quit my banking job. So I didn't have that much money for a truck. So I got another partner that, was working at Amazon with me at the time. And then my former manager at Amazon also decided to give me a loan. And we didn't have that much money. So we bought all together, it was like $50,000, which is really cheap for a truck. And so we bought a really shitty truck. And that truck ended up like catching on fire twice. All the materials like broke down, like the fridge, like the water tank and everything. And, for the food truck, like if the water tank breaks while you're on the road, the truck will flip over. And so it luckily happened while the truck was parked. And so there's definitely a lot of close calls where, we're about to run out of cash and like I maxed out all my credit cards, all this stuff. But, I'm a pretty good like problem solver. So like when things happen, I tend to figure out like how to get through, which is why I think, running a crypto company and for 8 years, we've been able to survive all the bear markets. It's just kind of like a similar trait, that's helped us grow successful to this date as well.